we're doing all the things that we should do so that hopefully it should run.
This is a pain in the ass.
Because I guarantee one of us is smart enough to be that dumb. We got this back from the machine shop. And what do?
They cleaned up the crank, put in new freeze plugs for me, put in new cam bearings for me, and got it ready to assemble.
And did they do anything to the crank?
All they had to do was polish the crank, fortunately. It was cut 10 under the last time it was built, and the engine, when it destroyed itself, didn't. They were able to polish the crank out, so there's still 10 under and 10 under on the mains, 10 under on the rods.
So then what are we doing right now?
We are going to check, we're going to measure each one of the mains, and we're all 5. And you check your dimension, you get your dimension there, set your bore caliper to it, then you come over to the bearing and you see how much bigger the hole is here. And we're shooting for 2.5 thousandths.
Super fascinating, really
major exciting.
Really riveting stuff. All right, we measured this main, and this main because we couldn't get to those 3. And they're all at 4 thousandths over the crank, and we're looking for 2.5. So we do have plastic gauge, and we're curious because we're not super familiar with this. We're going to try and put plastic gauge on here and measure that and see if that comes up with the same 4 thousandths that we're measuring.
Give me this, you huff the crank and set it in there very carefully.
This guy.
So this is the back.
I'm going to drop it. Oh my God, why didn't you get an aluminum one?
Because they're light.
That light out of the way.
So now this,
light out of the way.
That goes there.
Okay. Now we need mains.
Okay. Oh, no we don't. We need plastic gauge.
No, we need plastic gauge. Then we need mains. Nope, you don't have it.
It isn't in here, so I guess we're not doing that. Well, let's just put the bag on it and call it a night.
Well,
and I can go
just in case, stick the center one on there with the nuts, because heaven forbid one of us get the bright idea
to roll the fucker over.
Yeah, because I guarantee one of us is smart enough to be that dumb.
We're definitely that dumb.
It's cold. We're doing stuff. Well, Dad already did stuff and didn't record anything, but we're going to record something right now. So we're looking at end play for the crank. So how much play does it have this way? About 5. Maybe 5.5-ish thousandths. What's spec?
3 to 8.
3 to 8. So we're between 3 and 8.
So that's the reason, not going to be the reason the engine blows up the next time.
And then he's got the oil pump pickup on there, but we have concerns that it may be too low. So we're going to get creative with some aluminum foil, I think. So we could figure out how close that is.
Because it's probably supposed to only have like a 1/4 inch. Something like that.
Okay. How thick is your gasket? Or you just want to do it with no gasket?
We'll do it with no gasket, and we know that we'll have the gasket thickness to add to it. Oh, that's sitting up there quite a bit.
Oh, smash that sucker down.
I'm going to say that's smashed down because it's touching.
What does it look like now? I mean, see how much room there is in there? I did not disturb it too much, but yeah, I think you have like a 1/4 inch once you put your gasket material on there.
There's gonna be plenty of room. Okay.
You're definitely picking up from the bottom of the pan. Now we know we have enough clearance for the oil pickup. Dad is over here gapping rings.
It's exciting.
So here is a ring that we haven't touched yet. We, meaning Dad, because I'm not helping him.
Yeah. See, and I realize that's not pushed down in with the piston, but you're starting basically with
Nothing.
1,000 to half thousands. Nothing.
So then he's using this fancy pants.
No,
Little
that's
guy.
a little El Cheapo one.
Yeah, but it works.
It's working.
The handle looks like it may or may not have been bent.
Yeah, that's the way a lot of them are. But this is like a really old fart tool there.
Well, it works, it works.
Do it a little at a time, and then you go to the second ring.
This is perfect stuff for Dad because he likes monotonous, extremely boring things.
Pretty much that's me. Total lack of excitement.
So his 3-cylinder is done. He just has 5 more cylinders to do. All the rings are gapped, and now Dad is going to start installing pistons. They're all over here, all nice and organized, and now the next part is doing all 8 of the pistons.
Just trying to figure that out.
Should be done in about 20 minutes.
20 hours. Got all of
Dad
the
got
pistons.
all of the pistons installed.
And I
Pistons
used
and rods.
this Summit adjustable piston ring thing, and you clamp it down to the exact diameter you need. That is like the only way to put in.
370 to
Pistons.
385.
That's for that size bore.
So here we go. That's all together.
So now all I got to do is
So you're gonna put the oil pan on there and then you're done with the bottom.
no.
What do you mean no?
I have to torque all these bolts and get them all.
Just go get the impact and just do a couple ugga-duggas. That's what I would do. I mean, it's just gonna blow up again anyways.
I hope not.
I hope not as well. It is time to do heads. So Dad got all the heads assembled with the springs and the retainers and the valves and all that shenanigans. So now it's time to stick those on there. So we got this gasket on. Next is this one. And then bolt them down. And then valve train and cam and all that shenanigans is next. Dad was going to install the cam and the lifters today, and he found this shenanigans. You know, it's got like polish marks that are on these lobes that are closest to where the cam bearings are at. So we noticed that was an issue. And then we noticed that the lifters have got some weird rust and crap on them as an issue. So that rusty stuff that's on there, that's an issue. And then there's one of them that's like missing a chunk out of the bottom of it. So we were questioning whether or not we should install that. So he called Summit. Summit's great to work with. Summit sent a whole nother kit. So that's right here. And then there's some differences between this one, this kit, and that kit as far as how the cam looks. And we were going to show you. Don't drop it on the ground.
So when you look at these lobes, they're not polished. They didn't get goinkied up like that one. And this one's consistent. All of them are fresh, which is what I'd expect to see.
So this one looks like something weird happened with it. Because every lobe that's next to a bearing looks like something hit it. This one's even sharp.
Much happier.
And these lifters look better?
Yeah, I inspected every one of these guys, and they look better. There's no evidence of any rust on any of them. I checked to make sure they all had crowns by putting them together, and none of these. There's one that had a minor mark in the bottom of them, but I did notice, like, the machine that handles them, there are some marks on some of the sides of them, but these look way better than the other ones. And the interesting thing about the camshaft numbers, the serial numbers, is this one is 1120140, and this one is 1120148. So this one was, serial number wise, 8 numbers newer than that one. So I don't know. And it's like, with these kind of marks on these lobes, I'm assuming that was probably at the factory. I mean, because it looks like they were finishing up the polish on that and it got into these lobes just on the peaks. So kind of odd.
So Summit warranted this. They sent out the new kit and didn't even require us to send the other one back until we got the new kit. So they told us to open it up, check everything out, make sure it was good, and then send back the old stuff. So that's what we're going to do.
Putting the competition cams, lube on the lobes, got regular motor oil on the bearings. Gonna pre-oil all the oiling system. So I'm gonna set this in there. I'm gonna get...
Better not drip any of that on my pristinely clean floor.
It's gonna get all over.
Pristine.
All over the place. I'm gonna use way more lube than is in the tube that they give you.
You're gonna run out. Your last lifter's not gonna have any lube on it.
It's gonna have so much lube on it, there isn't gonna be any issues. This stuff is sticky as shit, and it doesn't like coming off of anything.
Well, it's also 50 degrees in here.
Well, even when it's hot, it's really... So we go in to the next one. If I can get it into there. There we go. Toughest part, the last one. Put a little bit of this on there. By the way, I did clean that oil passage out too, to make sure it was clear. There it goes. Here it is. See, it's got this thrust bearing in there that's all lubed up already.
Okay.
Dribbling oil down that.
And then the oil pump. Or is that oil pump or fuel pump?
This is a fuel pump eccentric. It's marked rear.
So put that towards the front.
No. That's keyed and it goes on. So 30 foot-pounds of Turk, which is some but not gobs.
Now you got to put the front cover on so the cam doesn't try and come out of there, and then put the valve train together.
Well, in order, the timing chain and all has got to go on.
Yeah, that's part of the front cover, right?
Yeah, but we've got all of the lifters and shit can go in there now. Well, probably should get the timing chain on there.
But in order to do that, you have to do the oil pan, don't you?
Oil pan comes last.
After everything? Because you just got to make sure that you can't rotate this over if you don't have any push rods to hold the lifters in there.
Absolutely. So, yeah, because the oil pan comes out and it comes up to the cover.
We had to go backwards because we didn't have the timing chain on there. So we had to take everything on the cam back off to get the gears lined up and the chain on there. You got that, yeah, that cam gear is a little crooked on there. I think once you get it, it's just gonna slide on there. There we go. Now we're gonna reassemble it again. We're just making sure that you were paying attention, but that's, yeah, that's the right way to do it.
AMC engines.
All right, we got the front cover on there, and now we wanna make sure, we already did, but we're gonna show you, that the cam has got in play in there, that it's not binding. So do not touch this, because that was a nightmare setting that up. So we're at 48 to 60. 12 thousandths, which is 12 thousandths better than 0. And we just got off the phone with the guy that knows some stuff, and he's like, yeah, that's fine. So it's fine. We have all the lifters in there. We were lubing them all up and you died. So all of those are in there.
We put the comp cams lube on the bottom of all the lifters.
And then some break-in oil.
On the sides of the oil, comp cams break-in oil. And of course that's a break-in oil we're going to use when we're running the engine.
We're doing all the things that we should do so that hopefully it should run.
Alright, so now what I want to do is put some push rods in, put these rocker arms on, and see what the geometry looks like. That sounds like a lot of big words for me, huh?
Alright, we're going to do all of those big word things.
I'm looking to have between 30 and 60 thousandths of preload on the lifters. See, and when you start tightening it down, see how the lifter plunger pushes in?
Oh yeah.
And that's what you're looking to have. See, and what I want to do is stick a feeler gauge in there. You don't want to have any movement here. And I'm not even getting a 25 in there. So let's go down to like a 20. Do I have two of the same washers in there? Yeah, it looks like it. God, and I'm like way further off there. And that lifter's all the way up. Because you can see right when it starts pushing it down. See, that's why I kept buying all those different washers to get that preload right. Well, you can't go by that because
I was just trying to see what it takes to make that thing sit on that washer. Because these are latched together, so they want to pivot in the rocker.
Right, seeing like
that stud that bolt is going through, I was trying to figure out what to do to make that sit on there.
Yeah, because this piece is, see, like whenever you have this, because I'm going up and down. And the reason I started putting washers in there is because you also want to see where that rocker is riding on that valve, right? See, and it's actually kind of low, like that washer is too thick. It's like it's too thick on one and too thin on the other. See, because when I tighten this down to where, because you can feel it when it starts, see, like right there, it's starting to push that down. But that's looking like there's like no clearance here. It's like that's not going to be hardly anything, whereas in this one, I got a shitload. And then one of the ways they say to measure it is to put something across here and then make a mark on it when it's down, and then you unbolt it and you raise it up and you put the feeler gauge on there and you can see how many thousandths it was depressed when it comes back up. See, and these were like 90 thousandths and I was worried they'd be a little too thick. And then these are split washers and they're like a little thinner, but it's a split washer. So it's difficult for you to tell. See, I've never put these in because I didn't necessarily like them. And what I'm seeing here, I'm not liking. I'm like, why has this got such a huge gap and this one's like way down there? See, because I went through a lot of farting around trying to make sure that I had the right shit. See, because theoretically, stock, right? These push rods are 7.775 and the factory is 7.80.
But when you change the cam, that changes stuff, right?
Yeah, and plus when they take metal off of the heads or the block to machine them, it sets it down lower. What I was finding was happening is that they were binding up on the back of that. See, like now I've got basically almost zero lash there. There, see, like that's zero lash. And now that's tightening up and that's zero lash. And see, you see how much of a gap you have there. Like I mean, that looks like a lot, doesn't it?
Yep.
I mean, that's a shitload. So, and you're only supposed to have 30 to 60 thousandths, right? So if I grab your, let's see, if I grab a 26 and a 24, that's 50, right?
That's more than 50.
I mean, so that's, yeah, see, that's the reason I started putting.
You're like 100. 110.
See, and see how these are hitting that back there?
No, they're not. Not yet. You got
What about on the slot on the bottom? Is it maxing out? Just on the slot on the bottom of the rocker.
I can't tell.
I mean, it is right there. These were like 63 thousandths, so then these are the first ones that I started putting in there, right?
Because those are 210.
Well, you still got to have 30 to 60 thousandths more to smash down after that, because you got to push that plunger in a little bit.
So then what gap is that? You need to measure that gap is what you need to do.
Well, what I did, and I had been farting with it, is, and I thought these were too thin, but the way it's looking, they might be working out to be the ones I need. Right, because then now I put these, and I was putting them so that the stamp side was down, meaning the side that has the ridge is down. I might be being way too neurotic about this.
Well, you don't want those to bind.
Well, yeah, because it's hydraulic. If you don't have enough preload, then your valve train makes all kinds of noise.
I know, but you don't want these to bind on pivot, though, neither, right?
Correct. Seeing like I got those, and see like what I was doing was I was watching down there. See, so these are both pretty much.
So then what's your gap on both of those?
Zero lash. It ain't 50. It's more than 26.
Where's your 35 at?
It's the very last one on your stack.
So the top.
It's 32.
Right there.
I'm going to say it's probably more than that, too. Well, we're getting.
It's more than that. So that one's 41. You got to figure out what that one is.
See, but then it's like, how scientific am I going to get?
Well, I don't know. What's your tolerance? What's your range?
I was really looking to get about 40 thousandths down there. So that's 42. So if I do this and this, right, that's going to be 46, right? And it's still.
You have more. Yeah, you got more play than that.
See, I think I ought to just go with those washers. See, because over here it's tight. This is the first time I've had it to where these aren't even. But I was doing it with the other camshaft. I wonder if I'm not quite at the bottom of the lift. So there's no movement.
Not that I see.
So that's, see, now that's tightened up, so there has to have been upward movement there, and like this is still loose.
But what's your range? You want to collapse those minimum to maximum. What's your range?
From the instructions sheet, 30 to 60 thousandths.
So your range is 30 thousandths.
Yeah, so I'm in that range, ain't I? So I think what I ought to do is maybe I can check them as I put them in.
Okay, super fun stuff. That's what we're working on right now. You don't need to watch the whole thing.
Difference that's making?
All right, we are learning things. Well, at least I'm learning things. So on this here cylinder, we put push rods in there that are 7.775 length. With the exact same washers we did over here, the exact same, everything's the same. The only thing that we did different is we put a shorter push rod in here, 7.600, with the same washer. Dad's trying to set it up to the exact same so that he had zero in play, and you can't with that washer in there. So that's what the difference makes in the length of push rod on these particular spacers. So we're going to take the washer out and put it back together and then see what happens, because we're learning.
Because I thought I had it right, but...
Because we had 42 thousandths that it would collapse the lifter here, and then this one was 58 thousandths or 56, I believe.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is with the little bit shorter push rod, are we able to get closer to the middle of that 30 to 60 range? Or does it not matter? Does it not help us out enough to even matter? I don't know.
See, but I'm basically, I tightened it down and I have zero clearance, but there's no preload there.
So those push rods are too short. You have to use your other ones, or else you're just going to have it set up with no preload on the lifter, right?
Okay, let's go back to where I originally started. See, these are hitting.
No, they're not hitting. Well, this one actually is.
And that's tightened down all the way. And see, that is at the very, when you look at where the rockers,
yeah, it's like on that side.
it's on the very top, which is why I started going down the path. I need longer push rods and I need shims to get that right.
Now that I get to see what the difference is, that makes more sense. So we got to take those out, put those spacers in with the other push rods. We can measure them. We can measure all of them as we're doing it.
Right, because I was like,
and then
that's...
I'm learning stuff. There's maths and fulcrums and like flux capacitors and stuff.
Zach's not here, but I've been working on the AMC 304. And yesterday I put all of this together here and the whole front end and everything on there. And then, like I usually do, I found this. It's an oil slinger. It's got to go behind the harmonic balancer there. So I got to do it all again. That's where Zach gets it from. Is me. It's upside down now. Got the oil pan on. Got all the front accessories back on. Everything back on.
Are you going to install it in the engine compartment upside down like that?
It might help with the air cleaner clearance. But so I got the oil dipstick tube in, the valve covers are on, the intake's on, all the stuff. Got it all put back together. Right now I'm working on, I wanna retain the idiot light and the have an oil pressure gauge, so I gotta work on putting brass fittings together so that I can put all my stuff on there. So I'll be working on that later, but this is all back together. And I even painted the back of the block. I even painted the timing cover when it was off. So, and the oil pump and all of that. So yippee-yi-yay. All the silicone set up overnight, and this is my rig to get oil into the pan so that I can run the pump and prime it. Gotta take the valve covers off. I was just using that to get the valve cover gasket set on there so that I can get the gaskets onto the valve covers. But anyway, So putting in the Comp Cam's break-in oil into the pan, and then I will run the pump. I don't know if you can see down there the screwdriver for that. So I can run that, and I also need to hook up a pressure gauge and all that good stuff over here, so that still has to happen. But I wanted to get the oil into the pan without washing it all off of the lobes on the camshaft. So it's like, how do you pour it in without going through the valley? So this is what I came up with, and let's have some fun. It's going to take a while because this is going in through the dipstick tube. I tore apart a distributor and made myself a priming tool. Got a pressure gauge here and have the valve covers off. I already ran it a bit. You can see it's pumping oil up through there. I turned the engine over because I got a few rockers that aren't getting oil, and it's probably just because of the position of the lifters. But we're gonna check it. And I also want to look in here to make sure that we're getting oil flow in there. So see, getting thicker, stuff is flowing. You can see stuff coming up in these rockers. Let's go around to the other side here. See, yeah, so now every rocker arm is getting oil, which is groovy. The other thing I wanted to check was this. Let's see if I can get this light on here somewhere. Yeah, and I don't know if you guys can see that in there, but there is oil dripping from the gear because there's holes in that gear. And it is getting there. Yay. All right. So Mike came down, helped me get this thing, the transmission on this puppy, and get the valve covers on, get everything assembled up front here, fuel pump, starter on the other side is on there, and we're getting ready to set this thing in the car because we're tired of having it out taking extra floor space up in the shop. So I'm currently not waiting for Zach to get here to help me put this in.
It's in there. And the trans cross member's tight, and that's it so far. But it's in there.
Today, working on Sis, I turned her around. She's on the dollies because I was going to push her back towards the door when we start her. But
And then the shop's getting crowded again.
yeah,
There's a lot going on in here.
situation normal. But at least I had the space to turn the car around. That's like pretty much monumental. So yesterday, I got the carburetor on. I got the linkage for the throttle cable and for the transmission kickdown for the 700 R4. Note to everybody, don't get your low car cables frayed. They are a mother to get back through there when you're trying to put them back together. I changed out the condenser for the air conditioning because I screwed that up, so I put a new condenser in there.
Did you change that hose that was leaking when we were on the Tucson trip?
I crimped. This is the same hose with another end crimped on it.
So hopefully it's good and it doesn't leak no more.
Yeah, hopefully. I put the radiator in. It is filled with water. Had to do the wiring for the derailleur variable speed fans, which are cool. The transmission lines, which you can't even see running down there because they run right down the frame rail, those came out real nice up front here. They're gonna go around where the parking light goes and all, and they run right down the frame.
Oh yeah,
and
they're
then,
under the alternator.
yeah, and they go under the alternator and down the side of the engine really nice now. That's a big improvement. And I have fuel all the way up here, not from running the fuel pump or cranking the engine. I just used some compressed air and pressurized the fuel tank and got fuel all the way up to the carburetor, so that that is already set and ready to go. We have the drill on here so that I can run that. We can pressurize the oil system and get that charged up, and then we're going to drop the distributor in and try firing her up.
We got to make sure to hook the spark plugs up too.
Yeah, all the spark plugs are loose right now, because that's something that I need to do, is I need to spin this thing around and make sure it's at top dead center, which is something that I hadn't crossed my mind until just this very instant. So we need to do that probably before we prime the oil, because I wanted to prime the oil system like dead last before I drop the distributor.
Okay.
So that all the oil is in the system, and as soon as we start, oil's there, gas is there, everything should just go like the thing's been together. So that's where I'm at now.
All right, we got it at top dead center, so we're going to prime the oil system. So it's at 0 right now. Ain't nothing going on.
Should have it.
20, 40, 50, 60, 65, 75, 65, 60. It's holding 60.
Okay.
So it's primed.
So now we get to...
You want me to tighten down all the spark plugs?
Yeah, that's going to need to happen.
It might not run very good with no compression in the cylinders.
Yep,
I mean, we could try it and see. It's only got 7 spark plugs in, and they're finger tight right now. So we're gonna tighten down spark plugs, put the distributor on there. Distributor is in. All the plugs are tightened down. Spark plug wires are on there. We got coolant in here. Battery's hooked up. We're gonna roll it so the back of the car is hanging out of the shop, so we can try and save ourselves from asphyxiation.
It's a dream.
Whatever that word is. And then we're gonna try and start it. So we're gonna put it back on the dollies, I think, and roll it backwards.
In there, and just turn the key to on. Okay, so the ignition does have power.
This is a hydraulic flat tappet. So once we start it, we got to run it for what, 30 minutes?
30 minutes. It's got to be between 2,000 and 2,500 RPM.
It's got to be between 5,000 and 6,000 RPM. You ready? Want me to crank it?
Yeah, do it.
Nothing.
Nothing.
We have the starter hooked up.
Yeah, you hooked it up.
Got the starter solenoid hooked up.
Yeah.
Let me try again.
Okay.
Nothing. All right, we're trying to start the car for the first time, and it doesn't do anything when you turn the ignition.
Let me do a Derek Bieri. I'm going to rebuild the starter solenoid real quick here. Wake up.
Rebuilt. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Nothing. We ain't got no starter.
Hell of a way to start.
Well, the excitement, it's really just here. Okay, we're going to investigate this starting problem. We ain't got no starter.
Hell of a way to start.
Does it maybe not think it's in neutral? Oh, neutral safety switch. Did you hook that up? Neutral safety switch. That's what we're thinking. So the good thing is I got the job of sitting in the car, so Dad gets to figure out why it won't start. He's regretting his decision to make me sit in here.
So we're operating right around normal, right? Okay.
All right, Dad plugged in the neutral safety switch cable, so we're gonna try and crank now.
Bringing some thunder.
We're gonna do like Vice Grip Garage says, bring the thunder. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. All right, we're getting ready to crank it for the first time, but you have to wait till the next video.